when I'm working on something, like especially like a collage, and I'm just, I just can't stop working on it. Time, seems to just disappear, and I'm just like, oh, working. And then I finish it or something, or do something that I'm really happy with. And then I find myself always going, oh, thank you to whoever, whatever. But I really feel like it doesn't, in a weird way, it doesn't seem to be coming from me. It's like, I just feel like, oh, thank you to whatever or whoever, wherever I got that from or whatever. But I almost don't want to take credit for it. It's just like a strange thing. I am Jonathan Brown. I'm an artist and a musician living here in Amsterdam for, I guess, about a little over 20 years. I'm originally from Texas, and yeah, I here in my studio, I do a lot of collage type of work. I find things, a lot of found objects that I put together and make these sort of assemblages or collages, and I also do music, and I have my little mini studio here where I record. But I've been busy with Dusty Stray, and that's my sort of stage name, singer-songwriter project that I've had now since 2009, and yeah, that's it. One of my favorite works I've ever made was, well, a friend of mine found a really old medical illustration, like a life-size medical illustration of some man, inside his body and everything. You can see everything going on. Well, she found it in a dumpster, and she, thought, well, what am I going to do with this? Hey, Jonathan might like to make something out of this. So she gave it to me. And at the same time, around the same time, my mother-in-law gave me a stack of encyclopedias from the 1960s, I guess, thinking I could do something with those. And the crazy thing is that I looked through those encyclopedias, and the color scheme or whatever of all the illustrations was exactly the same as the illustrated man. So I started just slowly cutting through all these, cutting out all these little tiny illustrations in the encyclopedia. And I started placing them in this man's body, the illustrated man. And he, so we have people like swimming through his blood and doing different things. All kinds of crazy stuff was going on. Yeah, I get discouraged, like we talked about earlier, but I get discouraged. And then usually it's a friend or even like a well-known musician. I'll get like a correspondence with somebody who said, just keep going, or things like that. Those are the things that I remember always. Is just like, whatever happens, just keep doing your thing with your creative thing, whatever it is, but you just have to keep going. That's the number one most important thing of all. It doesn't matter if your records don't sell this, or just to put out another one. But so I've gotten that, somehow drilled into my head where I'm like, oh, maybe they're right. So, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of keep thinking I have to, but I also have to. I feel like I have to do it anyway. I have to keep going anyway with whatever, because it's just, I would go crazy if I don't, make something, after a certain amount of time. Okay, I guess the way I look at it is I just have to have this sort of faith that there is this, maybe niche audience for what I do out there, because I mean, what keeps me going basically, because I'm not, famous or super successful by any means, but I do feel like I have little successes here and there around the world, even with stuff, and I feel like that's what it's all about, is just reaching or having an effect on somebody. Like, this woman contacted me from Mumbai. Hey, I'm a big fan of your music, and I'm trying to work out this chord for this song, because I'm a singer-songwriter myself, and can you teach me this chord? Right? Things like that. I'm like, what? I have a fan in Mumbai. That's crazy. I just really like to think that I'm that I'm having some sort of effect on someone somewhere, and so. I think there's there are little pockets of people out there who are really into what I do, and that's enough for me, I guess. Because sometimes I think, oh, I could be so big or whatever, and reach so many more people like that. But I'm really, just super happy when I get this personal message, by some from some fan or something about how my music moved them or this and that, and or they broke up with their partner and my music got them through that period or something like that. That's the most incredible thing that you can ever hear, in my opinion. So yeah, I guess in the past, I don't know, 20 years or so, for some reason, I started getting into so-called outsider art. So basically, artists that were during their lifetime never really found out. Well, nobody knew they existed. Basically, they died and they never really exhibited their work or anything. And then they suddenly, are discovered after they're dead, and people have discovered these incredible amount of really special artwork. And in I mean, I've got a handful of favorites or so of these artists, but what I think is so striking is that they just put their all into that was like the most important thing in their lives, this sort of usually a secret, hidden art that they're working on all the time, and then but having no desire whatsoever to share it with anybody, which it seems even more kind of pure or special in some weird way. I wouldn't consider myself a perfectionist, but I think some people think I am or something. But like I actually don't like for things to be very perfect. I think perfect things that are perfect are pretty boring, I think. And I actually like and I even I appreciate mistakes in music and mistakes, things that look like they're happy mistakes in artwork. I mean that to me just makes things really exciting. And I've also like recorded things with producers. Where maybe I'll sing something, I'll do a vocal line, and I think, oh, I kind of might have gotten off key there, out of key or something, and then like one producer said to me, like, you couldn't pay me enough to change that because it's just showing, it's so pure, natural, or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. But in the end, I did actually agree with him. When you really try to make things too perfect, that's when things just, not nearly as natural or as exciting to me. Okay, yeah, like children, they can just go on and on and on and on and on. But you kind of have to tell them, hey, maybe you should, maybe this is done. Stop here, whatever. Well, for some reason, I kind of think that way for myself, like trying to tell myself, you should stop now. You should now it's time to stop. Almost like you talk to a kid, because I do realize that I can with my artwork I can also kind of go too crazy or whatever, and it helps so much to just keep things simple and know when to stop. But I just sort of have this voice in my head telling me, okay, or take that off. The thing you just added, that doesn't help. It just go back to that simple thing, and that's fine. That's good enough. So I don't know, just a little voice in my head. Yeah. I like deadlines. I think it really helps me to know that I have a gallery show or a concert or whatever. If I know something's going to happen and I have to kind of exhibit something or whatever, show people or yeah, then I'm very disciplined. Yeah, I have to be or whatever. But that I like that too. I like But if not, then it's just it sort of comes and goes how it goes and so on. But like music, I mean, I know, it does help if uh, if I know an album, I have to write 3 more songs for this album or whatever, and before this certain amount of time. That's really not easy, but it sort of works out, or it happens. I don't know, but I do think it's really hard to force yourself to write a song or something. It just doesn't work that way at all, and I've discovered that over and over again. There's just no way. I mean, it's the opposite for me. It's like I kind of, in fact, I tend to write more when I go isolate myself out in the middle of nowhere, especially like if it's like a country type area or so. Like we have this little place that we rent out. It's like out in the middle of nowhere, about an hour from Amsterdam, and I've written more songs, more music there than anywhere in my life, because it's just strange. I sit there if I'm by myself, especially, and just like poof, things just sort of come out of nowhere, or ideas at least, not always songs all together, but That is just amazing when you just don't try and it just sort of comes out. I wanted to say one more thing about the illustrated man. The thing I call the illustrated man. That's the collage of the medical illustration thing. The thing is, I actually used that also for my album artwork on my last Essie Stray album. So basically, that whole album, the artwork, inside, outside, on the back, and all that was from details of this, this things going on in that guy's body. So those became the little illustrations of each song on the album. So I don't know. I always like a way. It's always nice, at least for me, to find a way to kind of combine my art with my music. I mean, that's the greatest thing, when it all kind of seems to come together.